And then marriage, intimacy, where you see a kid eating like a glutton, you know his wife is in trouble.
Right. Interesting.
Right. What is it about lunch that fascinates?
Well, for me, as I'm talking to between 60 and 80 different people from all different walks of life, and for me, it's the commonality of it. Everybody was 7 and had to eat lunch at school, but the stories range so dramatically based on your circumstance and your culture, and not only that, your individual family. So your specific mom and dad, no matter what your culture is, influences it as well. And later on, I find like high school, you have a little bit more control maybe. Elementary school, you're just sort of at the mercy of what life you're born into. So I started working on this, and originally it was a small little personal project, but then as I got more and more stories, I thought this is really, really fun. And so I made it into a book proposal and sold the idea and everything. So that's where I am now.
Boy.
Yeah.
The simple things in life.
Yeah. So I'm going to just turn this on before I forget. I'll forget. And I would love to hear what you remember from your childhood. If you can also just tell me, where and what year you were born and where you were born, and then what you remember about whether it was from a cafeteria or packed from home or whatever. I'd love to hear your memories.
So I was born in Prague.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
What used to be Czechoslovakia.
Okay.
In 1946. Came to America in 1950.
Okay.
And had the typical, I guess, immigrant adjustments and so on and so forth. But eating in general, whether it's lunch, breakfast, or supper, is a big subject, really.
It's true. It's true, yeah.
It's such a big part of our lives.
We take it for granted, but it's true.
And we get mixed messages.
We get mixed messages?
We get mixed messages. On the one hand, we're told, don't be so hung up on food, and don't be such a glutton, and don't be so picky about what you eat, and
right.
Because it's not nice, it's animalistic, it's
right.
degrading.
Right.
When I was a teenager, I came home and asked my mother, "What's for supper?" Only once.
Oh.
Never again.
You'll eat what I make? Is that what she...
Well, she said, food.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
Because, there was
you should be grateful.
Right. There was a time when we didn't have food.
Right.
Now we have food, so what's your problem?
Right.
What exactly is it going to have a little more pepper and a little more... What?
Right.
Nah.
And did you come from a big family? Was your mom feeding a lot of mouths?
8.
8. Wow.
But the lunch, if you want to zero in on that...
zero in on lunch, yeah.
The cook was an old Russian woman.
The cook at the school?
Yeah.
Okay.
And she made a point of paying personal attention.
Really?
Yeah.
And this is in Brooklyn now?
Actually on Bedford and Dean.
Okay.
It was Bedford Stuyvesant.
Gotcha.
And she would make something special.
Nice.
So it was the best part of the day.
Really?
It was so reassuring to be noticed, to be cared for. So food is a very powerful source of nurture, and not so much because of what you eat, but because of being fed.
Right.
And being nurtured. So here we have the two sides. On the one hand, food is such a nurturing, such a beautiful, right? And on the other hand,
you do it every day.
yeah, and don't get hung up on food. And don't be a glutton. Don't.
Oh, right. I see what you mean.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have a love-hate relationship with food.
Right.
And a lot of people get very confused with that.
Yeah.
Anorexics and bulimics, and so there's no point in arguing that eating is beautiful, because it's not. What really is the redeeming function of food is its social value. feeding somebody, being fed by somebody, caring, sharing. So eating should be a social event.
And in your view, does that extend to children as well? Even
For sure.
Yeah.
In fact, if you want your child to grow up to be a decent human being, it starts with food. The way they treat food and the way they eat is going to set the tone for many things in their future as adults. So that's the time to introduce this idea that eating is not just a survival technique. It's a social training event. So how you treat people who eat with you, or people you feed, or the people who feed you,
Feed you, right?
that's the whole story of life. I mean, that's like
The civilization.
the whole,
right there,
right there.
Yeah, interesting. So this Russian woman, the cook, how many kids was she feeding? Was it a big school? Was it like a
Yes.
public school,
It was a yeshiva.
yeshiva school? Okay.
Yeah. It was all boys.
Oh, it's all boys.
And I don't know, 200 kids.
Okay, but she still took time to care. Yeah. So, do you remember specifically, because the other half of this project is in the studio, I have a food stylist and a prop stylist, and we're recreating the lunches and photographing those as well. So I'd love any specific details that I can make a plate or a tray or whichever it was that seems authentic to your memory.
Well, you can have a tray, a big tray of scrambled eggs.
Really? Scrambled egg? Oh, like a mass one that she's going to scoop from?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then right next to it, a sunny side up fried egg, which she would make for me.
Oh, she made you your own because you preferred the sunny side?
She saw I wasn't eating or whatever it was. I don't remember what she saw.
Huh.
But
Wow. So you'd come through and she would have your sunny side egg
or
waiting.
she would make me wait,
Or
and while she'd
she'd fry it up real quick.
right there. Right.
Oh, wow.
So it was a very pleasant. It still is a very pleasant thought,
Yeah,
very
yeah.
pleasant memory.
Yeah, and you remember it, yeah.
But then I would go back to class, and they would say, "Food, yeah."
Right.
So it became, between the two of them, it became very clear that it's not the eggs,
Right.
it's the person.
Right. Interesting. What else would you have with the eggs? Would there be bread? Would there be a
I don't
little
remember.
milk?
I
It's just
didn't
the eggs.
care.
Right, yeah.
The rest was unimportant.
Right, interesting. So we'll highlight the eggs.
hmm
That's great. And then do you remember the lunchtime in general? Like, did you sit with these other boys? Was this a social time for you
Yeah,
guys?
yeah. And that's what I'm saying. It should be a totally social experience. Because when else do you get to share something so vital
Right,
and transcend?
right.
By introducing the social aspect, you really do get past the food.
Yeah,
You're not a glutton.
right.
You're a concerned person.
Right.
And you see somebody who's not eating or doesn't have what to eat or isn't enjoying their food, you gotta
Get to the bottom of that. Right? Yeah.
say something, do something.
Yeah. Interesting.
See something, say
If
something.
you see something, say something. Yeah, the New York City motto. That's great. And then I'm not that familiar with the Hasidic community, but are there things that you, like rules about food or practices about food that you think sort of start in that early childhood time or family? Or I guess if we started really narrow in on the fried egg lunch plate, and if you want to expand from there, are there any other thoughts you have on the...
Yeah, but that's not such a personal experience.
True.
Uh,
Or any that
Before-
are personal to you then, I guess.
Before we eat, even as a young child, we're trained. Before you eat, you say the appropriate blessing for that food. So you're, in a sense, thanking God for the food and also taking permission to eat it.
Right.
So the idea that you can just eat every time you're hungry, whatever you want, whatever there is, whatever you see, no,
So even in school, you would have to say the
Everywhere.
blessing for eggs.
everywhere. And that too elevates the act of eating to something a little more dignified.
Yeah, I think so.
a little more.
Yeah, you're giving a little respect to the process and the
Yeah.
food. Yeah.
So I was talking to a woman who was anorexic. It was under control, but still the distaste for And she started saying, I'm not comfortable eating, it's not. So I told her what we were taught. Eating is an animalistic behavior, and you be a glutton is the lowest form of life, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And she says, you're worse than me.
So is that
I said-
something you have to you have those two positions that you're weighing,
Right. So for her, I said, look, it is degrading. And yet we were created this way,
Right,
that we depend on food.
right.
Now, why God did this to us, maybe to humble us or something. So swallow your pride and eat something.
Right.
So eating becomes a really meaningful, character molding, almost spiritual experience. It's a lot better than just gimme.
Right. I agree. Yeah. That's great.
And that will affect how you do business. Because, making a couple of dollars is like eating. I need
Gotta
this.
do it, right.
I need this.
Right.
From you.
Right.
And then you become the enemy.
Right.
And I'm trying to get something from you instead of seeing business as a good excuse to interact with you, to make contact, to feel interdependent. It's a whole new way of looking at life. And then marriage, intimacy, where you see a kid eating like a glutton, you know his wife is in trouble.
Right. Interesting. Yeah.
If you're greedy with your food,
Right. Goes across different areas.
yeah.
Yeah. That's
So it's fascinating that you chose lunch to be
yeah,
the center of attention.
It really does touch on a lot of different subjects and the way people behave.
Yes.
Yeah. So I met a young girl, she's 8, and she has OCD and another thing that I'd never heard of, ARIF, I think it was, where she was hospitalized because she refused to eat. And it's like, she would sniff the food, but she wouldn't eat it, and of course her parents are yelling at her, eat your food, and so it becomes this thing, like you say, you need to eat to live. And I think that manifests itself in so many different ways, in healthy and non-healthy ways, which is part of what you were saying, yeah.
Powerful.
Yeah.
It's a powerful thing. I guess people who are really observant and intuitive, you watch somebody eat lunch and you know everything about them.
Yeah, I guess so. Do they take their napkin out?
Yeah.
Do they say a prayer?
Do they
not say
chew
a
their
prayer?
food? They swallow it. They grab it.
Right.
There's so much.
Yeah. That's great. At the school when you were a kid, everybody ate that lunch. Nobody brought lunch from home. Is that correct?
Some people did.
Some did. Did you ever want to bring it from home, or you liked the food at school? Or you weren't going to ask your mom after that time?
No. Because of this cook, eating was a very pleasant experience.
That's great.
I didn't have to bring food.
That's great.
If you enjoyed this conversation or this topic, and you're looking for more information, or you want to hear it again from another angle, there is a way to do that. And that is in this book. It's all there. Order it from Amazon. You can read it, reread it, and share it.